Okay, I want to start off by saying all praises to Yahweh, Bahashim, Yahweh Shai, Bahashim, Rakah, Quadash. Double honors to the apostles and elders of Great Millstone who push this word in truth and sincerity, and shalom to the hopeful elect scattered across the earth, hoping to be delivered in the day of the Lord. So today, I'm going to go into a couple of things that I've been noticing in the sky recently regarding the chariots of the Most High, and I'm going to link it up with scripture and hopefully try and get across what I've been seeing and understanding to yourselves. But before that, I'm going to quickly mention that I've had another issue with my channel, and I noticed that the views, they go up and then they go back down, and then they go up and they keep coming down. And at one point, I spoke to a few people who, they say they watched the video, and I could see that the same number of people that were telling me they'd watched the video, that it didn't show that many views. And then somebody told me to look up this, what you can see on the screen here, this shadowing, and so I looked it up, and this is pretty much what they've been doing to my channel. And they manipulate your view count in order to alter the algorithm in which you appear on other people's accounts. So they pretty much do this to manipulate whether your video pops up as a suggestion to other viewers. So that's probably something that you've experienced yourself. I just wanted to mention it, nothing major. I just wanted to mention this is what they've been doing. I've noticed that over the last few weeks or so, this is what they've been doing to the channel. And this is just YouTube at doing its thing. But eventually there's going to be a famine of the word, so it's all cool, it's all good. They can do what they like, and when they eventually block this word, they will be fulfilling prophecy. But yeah, getting on with it today. So looking at these precepts here, Matthew 24 and 21. For then shall be great tribulation, such as was not since the beginning of the world to this time, no, nor ever shall be. Okay, so this is the time period that we're approaching. We're fast approaching this great tribulation, which is the next prophecy that's on its way, that's in development right now, and we're very close to this particular prophecy taking place. Okay, so this is what I want to go into today. And this great tribulation, I mean, all this is built up to the day of the Lord, which is a crescendo. And as we can see here, the crescendo description says the loudest point reached in a gradually increasing sound, okay, or the highest point reached in a progressive increase of intensity. Okay, so everything between now and the day of the Lord, everything that takes place on this earth is going to progressively reach a higher increase of intensity, and we're going to keep increasing all the way until the day of the Lord. And like I say, the next period that we're going to enter is the Great Tribulation, and things will greatly intensify. And from where they are now, they will intensify again, and they will continue to increase in intensity throughout this period. Eventually, this will all turn into World War III and the destruction of Babylon the Great, which is the day of the return of Yahweh Shai. So we're in a crescendo. Everything that's happening on earth, these worldwide events that are taking place, it's all part of a crescendo, a build up to a particular point. And that's why it's so many prophecies kicking off all over the place right now. But the Great Tribulation that we're heading towards is based around the prophecy of Revelation 13, which you should know by now what that is, Revelation 13 and 15 on down. And also Revelation 3 and 10 speaks of this particular Great Tribulation, which says here, because thou hast kept the word of my patience, this is speaking to the elect, I also will keep thee from the hour of temptation, which shall come upon all the world, to try them that dwell upon the earth. Again, this great tribulation is spoken of in Jeremiah 30, and I've got here 30 and 6. Ask ye now, and see whether a man doth travail with child. Okay, so Jeremiah's asking, have you ever seen a man travailing as if he was about to give a child? And then he says, wherefore do I see every man? Okay, so this is what he's seen in the vision of these latter days, this great tribulation. He's saying, wherefore do I see every man with his hands on his loins, as a woman in travail, and all faces are turned into paleness. 30 and 7, alas, for that day is great, so that none is like it. It is even the time of Jacob's trouble, but he shall be saved out of it. Now, the he is the elect. And when it says here this, when Jeremiah says that, basically, have you ever seen a man behaving as if he were travailing with a child? That's pretty much what he's asking. He goes, wherefore do I see in these latter days, I see men with their hands on their loins, as a woman in travail, and all faces turned into paleness. Okay, so this again goes back into this crescendo. The loudest point reached in a gradual increasing of sound, the highest point reached in a progressive increase of intensity. Okay, so when a woman gives birth, it's a big crescendo. A lot of pain and a lot of noise builds up, and the intensity increases all the way up until the point when that baby is born and delivered. And that's exactly what's going to happen throughout this great tribulation and beyond, up until the day of the Lord. And this is Jeremiah. This is basically what he's seen in those days. He's seen men. So we know we're going to see men out here pretty much with their faces turned, pale, and acting like women, screaming as if they're women giving birth. And so that's breaking down the first little particular part here. So for then shall be great tribulation, and this is the great tribulation that we're about to face. This chip that's going to be implemented very soon. Whatever's been going on over the last 18 months or so has been a worldwide event, which shows you we're into this particular period of time. And when you look at all the prophecies that have been taking place, we know we're heading to this particular time, and it's very close, and it will all center around that particular chip. Okay, so moving on now to Matthew 24 and 22, which is mainly what I'm going to bring out today, this particular point of what I've been noticing in the sky. And except those days should be shortened, there should no flesh be saved, but for the elect's sake, those days shall be shortened. Okay, so again, except those days, these days are the days of the great tribulation, should be shortened, there should be no flesh saved. So what this is saying is that the days of the great tribulation are going to have to be shortened, and if they weren't shortened, then the type of things that are going to take place on this earth, no flesh will end up being saved from this particular the particular events that have been going to take place. But for the elect's sake, those days shall be shortened. So we're going to see the days being shortened, and that is all for the sake of the elect throughout this great tribulation, because the elect are the only people that are going to be delivered from this great tribulation, from this hour of temptation, the elect who have kept the word of my patience, as in Revelation 3 and 10. And again, down here, Jeremiah 30 and 7, when it says, but he shall be saved out of it, that he is the elect. Jacob's trouble, and which part of Jacob is getting saved out of it? The elect. Okay, so, but anyway, going back to the days being shortened. Now, a lot of people have brought out this particular article, which is dated the 9th of January 2021. I got this particular one off Surf News, but this same article was out and about there somewhere. And it says here, days are getting shorter than 24 hours. It says here, the Earth recorded the shortest day since record keeping began on the 19th of July 2020, when the day was 1.4602 milliseconds shorter than 24 hours. Okay, carrying on here, it says time is flying quicker this year as the Earth is spinning around faster than it has in half a century. This means each day on the blue planet is now shorter than 24 hours, owing to the increase in speed of the Earth's rotation over the last 5 decades. Okay, so making this startling revelation, scientists said that the Earth's rotation is faster than normal, due to which the length of the day is currently ever so slightly shorter than the normal 24 hours. The year 2020 included 28 shortest days since 1960, and 2021 is predicted to be even shorter. Okay, so a lot of teachers have gone into that particular article and said, look, Matthew 24:22, except those days should be shortened, there should be no flesh saved, but for the elect's sake those days shall be shortened. And so what a lot of men have done is they've gone to this article and they've gone, look, the days are getting shorter, which they're right to say, quite clearly states that. But what you've got to remember is, when we come to this truth, we return to our original ways, to the ways of our original forefathers. And beyond a certain point, our forefathers didn't have these clocks to count milliseconds and count minutes. They had to use a sundial, for example. And before that, they weren't using a sundial. I don't know if they were using something. As you can see here, the first device for indicating the time of day was probably the Gnomon. I'm not sure if I pronounced that right. It says here, dating from about 3500 BCE. It consisted of a vertical stick or pillar, and the length of the shadow it cast gave an indication of the time of day. But the 8th century BCE, more precise devices were in use. So by the 8th century BCE, they did manage to make up other devices. But initially, they're using a sundial. As you can see here, they're using a sundial to tell the time. Now, so we're returning to the ways of our forefathers, and we should be looking up to the sky to work things out, like they did back then. Now they use a sundial to work out the time. Like I said, they couldn't use this to calculate minutes and seconds. They couldn't look at this and they would not be able to use it as a stopwatch. All they would be able to do is see the sun spinning round, and they would know that it's pretty much the end of the day or it's the beginning of the day, so on and so forth. Now we jump now down to Genesis 1:14, and God said, "Let there be lights in the firmament of the heaven to divide the day from the night, and let them be for the signs and for seasons and for days and for years, and let them be for lights in the firmament of the heaven to give light upon the earth." And so it was. Okay, so our original, what we do is we look up into the sky and we use the sun as an indication that it is daytime, and we use the night as indication that it is nighttime. And from that, they managed to make use of a sundial in order to tell what part of the day that they were in. And also, they were using the signs in the heavens as a way of knowing when the Sabbath day was, by looking for the new moon. As we can see here, Isaiah 66:23, and it shall come to pass, that from one new moon to another, and from one Sabbath to another, shall all flesh come to worship before me, saith the Lord. Okay, so from one new moon to the other, and from one Sabbath to another, because the Sabbath day is on the new moon, and then it will follow on from that particular day every week until you have another new moon, which indicates the start of the next month. So that's what we were doing. We were looking up in the sky, and we were knowing what month it was. We were knowing when the beginning of the month was by the new moon, we could tell whether it was day or night by looking at the sun and the moon. And we never had what Esau was giving us, Esau's saying to you, oh, you've got this clock, blah, blah, blah. And then what he does is he changes the date halfway through the night. And that's how you know something's not right. If you're supposed to have a new date on the calendar, surely that would come at the end of the night or end of the day, at the beginning of something. You then have the beginning of the new day. But Esau doesn't. He changes the date in the middle of the night. So that shows you what he's doing. It just doesn't link up. And that's why, when you go back to Genesis, it tells you that the earth was pretty much void and darkness was upon the face of the deep, and the Spirit of God moved upon the face of the waters. And God said, let there be light, and there was light. And then when it jumps down here to 1 and 5, and God called the light day, and the darkness night, and the evening and the morning were the first day. So you have one period of darkness, then you have a period of light, which was made after the darkness was already there. And when that light disappeared, that was the end of the first day. So for the next day to starts when the sun goes down and the darkness appears again. The moon appears, and then we have the period with the moon and the darkness, and the light comes, and and that's day 2 gone. So straight away you can see that the date, if you want to use a calendar with dates, then that date should be changing when the sun goes down, not in the middle of the night. But I just wanted to go into the fact that, this is what we were doing initially. We were looking up into the heavens for signs, to know where we were on a so-called calendar. Ezekiel 46:1 says here, thus said the Lord God, the gate of the inner court that looketh towards the east shall be shut the 6 working days, but on the Sabbath it shall be opened, and in the day of the new moon it shall be opened. Likewise, the people of the land shall worship at the door of the gate before the Lord in the Sabbaths and in the new moons. So again, when you want to know, even today, you want to know when the new moon is, when the Sabbath is, you need to look for the new moon, and you take it from there. And even when you look at Acts 2 and 19, talking about the latter days, which we're in now, it says, we should be looking up into the heaven for signs, as it says here, and I will show wonders in heaven above, and signs in the earth beneath, blood and fire and vapor of smoke. The sun shall be turned into darkness, the moon into blood, before that great and notable day of the Lord come. Okay, so this is talking about solar eclipses, blood moons, and all sorts, vapor of smoke from the earth. So you're looking at volcanoes, volcanic eruptions, fire. We've seen wildfire, especially this summer. We've seen wildfires all over the earth, in all particular parts of the earth. And these are all signs. These are signs that the great and notable day of the Lord is soon on its way. But it says right at the top here, and I will show wonders in heaven above. Okay, so we're looking out in heaven for a sign, just like we would for a Sabbath day, just like we would to work out whether it's day or night, just like we would, if we were using the sundial to work out which particular part of the day in. And we also look for chariots of the Lord. Psalms 34:7 says, the angel of the Lord encampeth round about them that fear him and delivereth them. So you being here in these latter days, you should be looking up in the sky to see if you see angels of the Lord in chariots hanging around, encampeth around you, if you fear him. And Lord willing, they will deliver you from whichever trouble you happen to get into. So these are things that we should be looking for in the sky. And sometimes, you need someone to reveal it to you, as Amos 3:7 says here, surely the Lord God will do nothing, but he revealeth his secrets unto his servants, the prophets. Okay, so what I'm going to do today is break down what I've been noticing and what I've been looking at and what the Spirit is showing me. And we can see that, it's kind of showing us that Matthew 24 and 22 is taking place. Like I say, Esau's already come with his scientific explanation that this has taken place, and a few people have gone in to break this particular information down. But I'm going to do it the old-fashioned way. I'm going to look up for the signs in the sky, like I just went into. I'm going to do it the old-fashioned way and see if we're seeing a sign in the sky that the days are going to get shorter. Because what you have to understand as well, just while I'm thinking of it, you see, if you're using a sundial, you can look at that and the sun can spin around and the shadow will move and you know what part of the day it's in. But if you then woke up the next day and the day was quicker and it span around faster, you might not necessarily know, because you don't have a way of counting minutes or seconds. That's something that's given to us now, so we can have a stopwatch and we can time something. But back then, you wouldn't have been able to do this. You wouldn't have been able to look up and say, well, today was quicker than yesterday, because they didn't have a stop clock. So that's one point I wanted to bring out quickly. So all that kind of understanding helps you to understand what I'm trying to get at here. Okay, so these are the chariots that come and encampeth around my house. This is one of them anyway. And I've gone into it before. Since I came to this truth, my eyes have been opened to these chariots that appear. And this one's coming with the two. You've got the left and the right there. Most of these ones are here that I'm showing are coming with the two. You just can't always see the other one there. Sometimes it's probably covered up by a cloud or something. But yeah, so basically I've gone into it before. These chariots encampeth around my house. And for a long time, for about 3 years, they randomly appeared in different places, in different positions, and I just randomly took pictures of them with no real goal to do anything with the pictures. And eventually I got to a point where I'm now making these videos, something that I didn't really think that I would be doing when I first started taking these pictures. So obviously one day I made a video and I put all those pictures up, which you've probably seen. And I've gone into it and I've broken it down. So these are the chariots. Some of them are beryl, some of them are amber, blah, blah. And after that point, I kind of took that information that I built up and put it out on a video. Now, from that point onwards, you see, this is why we tell you that Yahweh Bahashim Yahweh Shai is a living God. All other gods are dead. Okay, so you can curse out any other god that you like. You're not really going to get any retribution back for it, because they're dead gods. But you can't really do that with Yahweh Bahashim Yahweh Shai. They're living gods. So that's why people are receiving judgment constantly around you on a daily basis. And if Yahweh Bahashim Yahweh Shai has got the Holy Spirit working with you, you'll see the living God working with you on a daily basis, because he lives, he's there. While you're living through your life, he's living alongside you, showing you what's going on. So like I say, initially I was taking these pictures for 3 years. Then I did a video. So once I did the video, the Spirit was showing me, look, you've done that bit. Now I'm going to show you these chariots moving around. So I took a video of them moving around, and I did another video, you might remember, said, look, this is the chariot moving around. And then the Spirit hit me to show me that, look, this chariot flies around to a particular location. I mentioned this before, and locks on to a coordinate in the sky. Okay, so now at that point, I didn't really know why I'm explaining that. I just know that the Spirit's showing me that. It's clearly showed me the next step from just showing me the chariots. It's now showed me them moving, and it's given me the understanding that this chariot turns up, it flies around for a little bit, it finds a little location that it wants in the sky, like a coordinate, it locks onto that, and it hangs there in the sky. And as the sky moves around with the solar system, you can see this chariot slowly floating around. So I didn't know I was going to do this particular video at that particular point, but I did a video to explain that information. And then what's happened then is the living God, Yahweh Bahashim Yahweh Shai, has then taken me to made me witness something else, which takes my understanding to another level. Now, what this chariot has been doing over the last 3 or 4 weeks or so, I mean, I didn't bring this information out straight away because I sat on it and I wanted to watch it on a consistent basis and see if it keeps doing what it's doing. And it does what it's doing. What it's been doing over the last 3 or 4 weeks has pretty much been doing every day. They never used to come every day, but now it's arriving every day and it's doing the same thing every day, but it's doing it at a faster speed. And what it happens to do is it flies around and it locks onto a position somewhere around this tree. Let's see if I can find there's a picture down here. See, so it starts off pretty much around about here. Okay, so what it does, it flies. Sometimes it's a little bit higher, sometimes it's a little bit lower, and it flies into this particular position and it locks onto a coordinate. And it's always done this every now and again, but now it's doing this every day. And what it used to do, it used to float around with the sky. I mean, that's a plane, by the way, over there. And there's that other chariot, like I said, it comes in the twos, but it's quite hard to see that one. But yeah, so what it does, it locks into that coordinate and it floats around that night sky that you're seeing there. So gradually through the night, it moves through the sky with the solar system, and it moves over to the right hand side of this picture and eventually works its way around the house with the solar system. Now, it used to start off in the evening and it used to finish off early morning when it was like this, 7 o'clock in the morning. By 7 o'clock in the morning, it would reach to this side of the house. But what it's doing now, it's, like I say, not only is it coming every now and again, but it's coming every single day. And what it's doing is starting off there and it locks onto its position. And you can stand there and watch it. You watch it. It does not make, once it's flown into that position and held onto it, it doesn't make rapid movements. It just hangs there. And as it's hanging, you see it moving around the same way you would see the moon or the sun moving around. And as you can see here on this particular day, it went alongside the moon. The moon appeared, it pretty much, here we go, throughout the evening. It started off here. Look, today it started off higher on this particular day, not lower like it did before on the other picture. You can see the moon quite close to it. And as we go through the evening, it stays in close position to the moon. So it moves around with the moon. Or it moves around with the sky. Sometimes the moon isn't in the sky at that particular point. And this is what it does. It moves with the solar system. But what it's doing now, it's moving. So it used to start off at the tree. And like I say, 10 to 12 hours later, it finished the other side around the front of the house. Now it's doing that journey in about 6 hours. So I come out here and I'll see it maybe by the tree at about 9 o'clock in the evening. And then you're talking like 2 o'clock in the morning. And I'll see it by the front of the house. And I keep going out, I keep looking at it, and I keep watching it. And it keeps happening. They come on. This one at the top here is just a reflection of the camera. These two here that you're looking at left and right, it comes in the twos, but you can't always see that second one. And that's what it's doing, is spinning around with the sky, and it's spinning faster. I'm using a modern day device, the clock, to time it. So, if this had happened back in the day when we were using sundials, we wouldn't have worked it out, because we would have just seen it going round and round, and we wouldn't know that yesterday was slower than today. But I can do that. I can look up in the sky and see these signs, and I can use the clock to time it. And it's moving faster than it ever did. And it's moving, and it's appearing more regular than it ever did. And that is an increase of intensity. And it's also, like I say, we're supposed to be looking up into the sky to know where we're at in terms of this so-called calendar that we're on. We're using this Esau's calendar, the Gregorian calendar. We're using his date and time and everything else. And he keeps changing the date in the middle of the night, which is confusing. And that's how we're living in Babylon. But we as Hebrew Israelites should be looking up at the sky. And when you start to see the sky come around quicker and quicker and quicker, you know the days are getting shorter. Okay, so kind of links back to what I was explaining here in Matthew 24 and 22. And except those days should be shortened, there should be no flesh saved. But for the elect's sake, those days shall be shortened. So this is a sign that we're about to enter this great tribulation, which is what, the men of the Lord have been telling you for the last month or so. We're telling you, look, we're real close now to this great tribulation. And all of a sudden, what happens? We see a sign, or I see a sign in the sky that shows you the constellation is moving across the sky faster. Whatever the clock's doing. And so this picture was from this evening. That was from tonight's. And what I'm not doing, what I'm not actually saying is I'm not measuring the speed of the solar system or the constellation. I'm measuring the speed of the chariot, which is posing as part of the constellation, and it keeps going through the repeated action. So when you see something showing you a sign and it repeatedly does it, this is a sign is being shown to you. It's a bit like if somebody waves at you and they keep waving at you from far away. You're looking at them, you're thinking, well, what does this guy mean? Well, he's obviously trying to say hello. He's trying to send a message to you. And so, watching this pretty much every day now for the last 4 weeks. And, sometimes it appears 7, 8 o'clock in the evening. Sometimes it appears at 9, 10, 12. And it shoots across. It poses as part of the solar system. And it shoots across pretty much quicker and quicker week by week. So that's it's showed me a sign. It's trying to show me something on a repeated basis. So yeah, I just wanted to bring that out. And I do know another guy who lives down the road about 2 miles away, who's also into this truth. And he told me he saw, I think this is probably about a month or two ago now, he told me he saw about 100 of these lined up in a line. And he said as he looked up, he saw about 100. He told me he saw loads, and I asked him what was loads. He said loads meant about 100. Obviously he didn't have time to count them. And he said that one by one, whichever one was on the end of the line was shooting off, and it was gone. And then the next one shot off, and the next one shot off, and till eventually this line of say 100 or so disappeared down to nothing. Something that he witnessed, which is a couple of miles down the road. But yeah, they're definitely around, they're definitely about. And bringing this subject out also reminds me of a Jake that I met probably a couple of years ago. Not that I knew a Jake before I came to this truth. And so when I came to this truth, I did try to introduce this truth to this particular Jake. And he never got it, he never understood it. But at that particular time when I was trying to introduce him to this truth, probably about 2 years ago, maybe a little bit more, there were a couple of conversations that I had with him over the course of a couple of weeks. And in one of those conversations, he came to me and he said that basically, he said, look, when he was young, he used to have all these crazy dreams, and then they stopped. And they've never happened. Obviously, as the older he's got, they've disappeared. And now, since obviously I've been introducing him to the truth, they started to happen again. So I explained to him, obviously when he was born, his spirit was probably quite clean, and that's why he was receiving this understanding, these dreams through his third eye. And obviously, as he's gone through life and his spirit's become defiled by the ways of this world, he's started to lose that connection. So he's not receiving these dreams anymore. And then obviously, at the point where he's bumped into me and I'm introducing the truth to him and I'm reading these scriptures to him, the scriptures have a power to clean your spirit. So obviously he felt that effect, and then at some point after speaking to me, he went home and he had a dream. But like I say, despite all that, he never understood this truth. He never got it, and ever since then, he's not been interested in this truth. So he's not somebody. He's definitely not part of the elect, and yet he still had this particular dream, which I'm going to mention now. And what he told me, he said he had a dream, and he could see the earth, pretty much like the way you can see it now on the screen. And he said that he saw two, let's say, stars or chariots. From what I showed in these pictures of these chariots, these star-looking chariots, he said, yeah, pretty much something like that. And he said that he saw two of them either side of the earth in this dream. And what they were doing, they were flying towards the earth, from around the outside. One was coming from around the left and one was coming from around the right. And they were flying around to the back of the earth. And he said he saw them, curve around, shoot off, curve around the earth, disappear around the back. And then he knew in that dream that they were going to make contact around the back of the earth. And he didn't know what that actually meant, but he got the understanding in that dream that at that particular moment, when these two things go around the opposite side of the earth and collide, that is it. That's the cut-off point. Beyond that point, there's nothing. And I said to him, what do you mean, beyond that point, there's nothing? He couldn't understand, he couldn't understand the dream. He didn't really understand what was going on. He was explaining it to me, and I probably understood it more than he did. But that's what he told me. He said he was having a dream and he saw the earth, and there were two so-called chariots, if you like, spirits or lights, these lights basically either side of the earth, and they were flying around the earth. And as they met on the other side and collided, that was it. That thing called time for this kingdom, that was it. That was the end of it. So that's just something I wanted to mention as well, going into the time being shortened, the days being shortened. We're reaching this crescendo, this progressive build-up of intensity, which will build up to a particular point, which is the day of the Lord. And so while I'm at it, while I'm talking about these chariots that have been appearing around my house, I wanted to just go into something else which I noticed. And I mentioned before, I think I brought a video out and I filmed one of these chariots on the infrared, the green screen, as you can see here. And when you take the images and you kind of take still images and you watch it real closely, what I've started to notice is the outer circle are like individual lights. Okay, so you need to find like quite a clear picture. But when you look, you can see quite clearly see the spokes in the middle there. You can see a wheel, a circle in the middle, and then the outer circle. So that's like the wheel within the wheel. But when you look at that outer circle, if you notice that it's made up of individual dots, which are lights. Okay, so this one might show you quite clearly. And what I've started to notice is when you see it spinning live, you'll see these little white dots light up like a caterpillar. So, they keep lighting up as they go round in a circle, and whatever's on the back end switches off. So there's a particular pattern to it. It's a bit like, this is the only thing I could really think of, old Knight Rider. And you see his little light on the front there. What happens is, look, one appears on, one appears on, one appears on, and the ones at the back disappear. Now this particular light snakes back and forth, and the ones on the chariot spin in a circle. And as you can see here on the right hand side, that chariot, the lights are lit up, and on the left hand side they've dimmed. On a particular picture you can see here, look, you catch it at different points. So I've got so this is where I took the stills from, this particular video. And if you just watch the outer circle, you can see there's quite clearly individual little lights, little dots that are lighting up as it goes around. And you can also, like I say, you can see the spokes spinning quite clearly. And sometimes you will notice when you look at the spokes, sometimes it's spinning right to left and sometimes it's spinning left to right. Kind of like an illusion, like an optical illusion, if you like. But as you can see here, look, this is probably the best part now. You can see these little dotted lights on the outside quite clearly skipping around. I mean, sometimes you lose the focus and you lose them all together. But there you can see these little dots are pretty much spinning around in a circle, lighting up, lighting off, switching off, lighting up, switching off. And it's creating a pattern, an effect. You know, what that means, I don't know, but it's just an observation that I made. Let this play out before I move on to another one. That's the end of that one. So you know, I came across this one here. This is off GMS Word of Life. And this is something that I believe to be real because it has a particular pattern with that light. And this is what I'm trying to explain. See these little lights that you see spinning, having you know, you can see that light effect. For what they're for, I'm not sure, but I just kind of put two and two together. And I looked up the wagon wheel effect. And this is another issue with the wagon wheel effect. As you can see here on the right hand side, when that wagon wheel slows down, but by looking at the spokes in the center, sometimes they spin left and sometimes they spin right. And all that's happening is the speed of the wheel is just slowing down. But it gives you an optical illusion. But yeah, that's all I wanted to go into. I just kind of like thought I'd just mention that about the little lights on there. And these are the chariots of the Lord that encampeth around my house. And Lord willing, you understood what I was trying to say. Like I say, that particular information regarding the time speeding up and looking at the chariots, you know, that's something I'm just telling you through the Spirit. I can't get you an article or a rubber stamp to tell you that's a certified sign that the days are going to be speeding up. But, you know, through the Spirit, I mean, that's why I sat on the information for a couple of weeks, because I looked at it and straight away the Spirit was showing me, look what's happening. He's doing this, he's doing it every day, he's doing it faster. We're getting to that time where things start to speed up and shit's going to go down. And obviously, you know, through that I sat on it, because sometimes you sit on things for a bit and you think, nah, that's just a vain opinion. But, you know, obviously sitting on it and watching it it's definitely a sign. So through the Spirit, Lord willing, you were edified. And until next time, I'm going to say all praises to Yahweh, Bahashim, Yahweh Shai, Bahashim, Rakah Kwadash, and Shalom.